morning, everyone. I hope you are well. Happy Sunday. It is a beautiful morning in California. We just had massive rainstorms for like 5 days, which is wonderful. The fire season, I believe, has been declared to be over for the whole year. And chances are that there'll be horrible firestorms like last year are pretty much gone. And it's wonderful. And things are turning green, which is not always the case here. So, I was contemplating this morning on what to share. And ate my cereal, did a little cardio, and things were coming to me. And then I stopped thinking about it because I'm like, if I think about it and go through it, I'm going to say now, it's not going to come out when I am in front of the microphone. So, in a way, the hills becoming green with life is very fortuitous that I mentioned this morning and share with all of you across the world, because it's a little bit like us and what we're doing during this winter period. If you're in the northern hemisphere, and if you're in the southern hemisphere, which you are entering summer, and each time I think of that, I think of my wonderful time in Sydney in January, February, many, many years ago, and the Queensland area and the northern coast. And I always wish I were there. But even in summer, you can take time. We can always take a little time. I used to meditate for hours on the beach while sunbathing. And powerful, powerful practice, which I've spoken in the past. But I'm not going to digress. If you do that, there is a correction that I may have made to the teaching, but always wanted to. The UV nowadays is insane. So a little bit of what I was describing about being in the sun and using the sun to heal, powerful practice, was really from an age or when I lived in the East Coast, where the sun's not nearly as intense as it is here during the summer. So I guess it depends where you live. I guess if you're in Northern California, you probably don't have this sort of problem. Washington State, you definitely don't have this problem. But so you have to kind of gauge where you are. But even nowadays, who knows? The UV is intense. And, ultraviolet radiation. It's a form of radiation, and it's intense. So, doing the practice maybe by 10:30 a.m., it's no longer possible. And maybe starting back at 3 is more possible. And maybe sunbathing around noon is not possible any longer. But you can have a little sunshade for that time, or pop in and out. Or you could still meditate. The heat against the body, the sun around you. We have to be smart. And back in the day, in the dark ages of the 1980s, way back when, 5 centuries ago, sometimes it feels like, you got away with a 4 SPF. I know, shocking. Nowadays, I get burned with a 50 SPF. I don't know why. So, be mindful. Things change, we adapt. With everything I share, adapt it to your circumstances. Some things work for some, not for others. Something great for one period in your life, and for another period in your life, you're completely wasting your time. It feels easy because it's not doing anything really, and it's time to pivot. And with practice, one knows how to move like surfing around, going back to things you did in the past, trying new things, and you grow. And then suddenly you have a skill set. I hear everything I teach, I've experienced myself. But before, there'd be a simple practice, and then, 6 months, something else, or 2 years. And then suddenly I receive 10 practices within a year and a half, but I'm somehow able to navigate all of that because I'm at a certain level and I just absorb, and there's not as much for me to work through that practice. Or they're all similar, but slightly different. And I learn how those flavors, like vanilla, French vanilla, vanilla with a little chocolate, vanilla with a little strawberry, and then all strawberry, all chocolate. You see, it's all ice cream. So I'm glad I got to touch base in with the Southern Hemisphere because, I might be up north, and I call this the winter meditation retreat. It serves you very well in your summer, which is your winter, which is my summer. So these practices very much for that, but also very much for the summer as well. Ultimately, what for me, it's a cycle where I choose to focus the teachings in a certain direction, but it's not summer or winter. It's 365 days a year. Clearly, you don't do any sun practice in winter in 50 degrees by the beach and freeze. But with clothes on and a jacket, you can certainly do something similar, and it's much safer because of the ultraviolet. And watching the sun go down, feeling the coolness, seeing the water and the moisture, and meditating in that and working with those elements is very healing. And you learn with your practice. What we're doing, and what was very fortuitous, the hills are turning green. When we do practices, we are making ourselves green. Green is life. We are bringing life back to ourselves. So ironically, it's winter practice. We do it very deeply, especially in winter, because we move around less. We're more sedentary. We don't have, the craziness of summer, especially I have children. I'm sure you all know that summer is crazy land. Everything going on. In winter, it calms down. So you can go deep. I lived in the East Coast. Winter is like, oh my God, cold. Like sometimes you put on a winter coat, you put on thermals, you all socks on, scarf on, gloves on. I live in New York City. People know the wind chill that goes through the streets like little wind tunnels, and everybody steps back from the curb to use the building as a windshield. And I'm sure the people in Chicago know that probably times 100. And yet you still go out and the air is knocked out of your lungs when you hit what feels like a wall of cold. But even in that environment where the trees are dormant, there is no green. everything goes gray, and even the snow turns black with the soot and even black ice. We all know, right? The dangerous black ice you don't see until you are sprawled against the sidewalk like some roadkill. In that environment, when we do our work, we are becoming alive. We are healing ourselves. So ironically, in a period of lack of life, of dormancy, of everything getting smaller, of contracting, we're actually expanding. We're actually growing. We're not dormant. People go dormant. It's lost space. We bloom. We're turning green. Because we are literally watering ourselves with the water of life. So when the spring comes, we're already have our leaves and we hit a little sunshine. We're the first flowers that are already fully blooming. We're those people when the weather hits 50 degrees, we're already at the tennis, we're already at the beach, not sunbathing, but we're already like full of life, going out, cafes, while people are just kind of waking up from the slumber. Because we've pulled back together the fragments. We are fragmented. There are pieces of us. We are not whole. We're not fully embodied. We say we're in one body, but we're not really in our body. We're mainly in our heads. And we're not fully alive in full, what's the word? Balanced. It's not quite it. I have a visualization of what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to find the word of what it is. We're not calibrated. That's it. Oof. We're out of calibration. Our settings are a little, we are not fully connected and humming from, our settings are not quite there. We are not in touch with the energies in our body. Energies are pooling in certain areas. Energies are in the opposite frequency that they should be. Our thoughts are not humming like a car that purrs when it's going, and you're like, oh, this car's calibrated, everything purrs, it's a smooth drive. The air feel in the tires, it's just, the bumps don't feel like bumps, the road feels like freshly paved road, even if it might not be. And you're like, wow, the leather feels perfect. And it just feels effortless. That's a calibrated machine during the winter when we water ourselves with the water of life through our practice, through our connection to divinity, through the optimal aspects, bounty of the universe. That's what we resonate with. we retune ourselves. We bring back those scattered fragments of ourselves and become whole. Because we take the time to focus inwards. We give ourselves permission to focus on ourselves because the outer world has slowed down. So there's that opportunity. Your calendar is open. It's not booked. The kids don't have swim lessons plus baseball plus beach parties and pool parties, and that could be you too. Country club this, dinner, wine tasting, right? All the stuff that makes life really beautiful. Not there. It's an optimal time. And for the people in the Southern Hemisphere, I'll redo a little something for you, what you can do during this period. But I mentioned something, I think, 2 years ago in December or January about this, or February or March, somewhere. But we reclaim ourselves. We focus on our microcosm, ourselves. At the micro level, we're not so much focused on the macro, the world, things outside. We see what's out of alignment. For example, we have a little water here. I just did 21 minutes of elliptical. I've been doing a lot more cardio. I lost 4 pounds in 2 weeks. My body wasn't where I wanted. I'm not out of shape, but not in shape. And I'm like, I have 12 pounds I want to lose. I'm sure people are chuckling. It's probably the adult condition. We all like, not 21. The body doesn't just, it's not all tight anymore. And, you feel it. Blood pressure might be up. You're not breathing as deeply as you would like. Problems focusing. You're at the gym and you put yourself in the corner to quickly change because you don't want people to see that things that should be a little tighter are not as tight. But that you also realize that it also affects a lot more than just your own, how you wish to be perceived. It affects your meditation. It affects your mind. It affects your emotions. It affects the longevity of your life. Being in shape gives you confidence, which gives you air in your sails. Good self-esteem is important. Now, self-esteem has many components, and I'm not going to digress, but part of it is you look good in your clothes. It gives you strength, an upper spine. So when somebody does whatever, you're just like, no, because you're in your pocket, you're on your horse. The calibration is there. Now, not everybody can be that. There are different body types. but you're the best in your body type and you accept how you are. And you're like, this is optimal for me. And you're happy with that. It's about realizing what you are and being the best of what you are. My looks don't really fit in America, never have. I've always been overlooked. But I know when I feel good, when I'm at my optimal, and I radiate a confidence, when then people actually do look, interestingly enough. Or they don't, and I really don't, well, pardon my French, don't give a fuck. Because the confidence, the health. So you see, during this time, not out of judgment, how did I get here, or blah, blah, just saying, you know what? I'm going to put a little focus here. I'm going to bring the gym back now. Not for a resolution January 1st that's kept for 3 weeks. Because everybody needs a resolution and everybody needs to go to the gym. And then you're done after 2-3 months. But because you've decided to bring an element of wholeness in your body, you become your own mechanic. One of the easiest places to begin, or not so easy, you start slowly, you don't hurt yourself. 8, 9, 12 minutes. Well, next week it's 12, 14, and next week it's 18, next week it's 21, and then suddenly you're like, I lost 4 pounds in 2 weeks or a week. Your body is at a negative. It's not adding weight, it's actually taking weight away, and you're on the right movement of the right direction. Your metabolism's increasing. You're able to go through the day with less calories, and now your body's aligning. Moving the body, increasing the heart, moving the blood through, increasing the heart rate, perspiration, sweat, coming out. Sweat removes so many toxins. 2 ways body relieves toxins. Well, 3. But easier, but toxins. One removes sort of food. But for toxins, urinate and sweat. Urination really can't get everything because the blood vessels through fat and stuff doesn't quite go through everything. I think it's called the limbic system. I don't know. It's such a long time ago. Sweat, however, really gets the toxins out and flushes through the skin, which makes the skin look nicer, rejuvenates the skin cells. It's really important. And it calms down the mind. We have too much heat, too much emotions, too much fire. You burn the fire through exercise, cardio, sweating, moving the blood through, calms the mind, settles the mind. Your prayer and meditation becomes easier. You're less rattled with the space around you. Your body goes into calibration. My father once told me something interesting. We had a big car from the 80s, gas guzzler galore. Long before anybody conceived of what a hybrid or electric car, they talked about it. And it just feels like it was George Jetson, for those people who know what that is. And he said, it's good we went on this trip. A car needs sometimes to get hot and drive fast for a long period of time because it burns through the grit in the engine and then it cleans itself. And then it's more efficient and it's healthier and it recalibrates from that, not the stop and go of local driving, but a good amount. And that's kind of us. So it's easier to start looking at our bodies. This year, I'm going to teach this season, this winter season, and people in the summer, you're beautiful. I keep thinking of Sydney during the summer. I just can't. I wish I was speaking from Sydney right now. Anyway, you can do it there too. We focus on our bodies. One day I was like, I'm going to teach this, but there was so much more that before we got here. Our bodies is the seat of our minds. Literally, if you think about it, because our minds are on the top of our body. It's the vessel of our souls. It's the vessel of God. We are God's temple. The Shekhinah lives within. The cathedral lives within us. That's what makes us sacred, because divine consciousness lives within us. Our consciousness, our life is sacred because it's life. So in a way, our body is a temple. Not just for ourselves, but for God. Doesn't make us God. But it does make us that in us, there's that 24-karat gold of holiness. So by taking good care of our bodies, we take good care of the divine aspects that live within us, that manifest in this world through us. As far as I can tell, I do not see God walking on this planet, quite to the contrary. But as we reclaim the fragments within ourselves that are not speaking to each other, that are not aligned with each other, as we bring them together, as we rebuild that cathedral stone by stone, so it's standing proud, as we rebuild our temple. And it's not that we destroyed it. It probably came into the world through our genetics and our family in the womb, already not quite fully there. And then life happened. But we have a choice. We always have a choice. Even if it's small little steps, little movements of the dial, like a ship. You want to go due north, well, then you're not going due north. Let's say you're going west and you want to go north. Well, just turning it just 0.1 degree towards the north, because that's all you can do. Well, that's not only a beginning, but if you go 100 miles, that's a whole other position closer to the north. A little bit goes a long way. And then as you go a little bit, you could do another 0.1 or 0.5. And next thing you know, things in your life are shifting, because that 0.1, 0.2 degrees somehow brought you into a different current. The winds that you used to fight against now are kind of in your favor, because the angle of your ship and where you now are is different. Just from these small little changes. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. You don't realize it, but then it equals a pretty big number. But individually, it's not a lot. It's just a little here, a little there. And then suddenly things shift. And then you could do 5, 10. You take that ore and you're just swinging it around like a pirate moving his ship around, and you're aiming your ship due north. And people are like, how did you do that? And you're like, just little bit by little bit. And then I saw there was some leaks down below, and I patched them up, and the water went bad. So I went on this island and got this really fresh tropical water. Like, wow, we're all drinking it, and we've got tons of it. So we're just drinking, and the water, and we threw out the wine because that's just poison. And we got some herbs here, and we found this medicine person there. He helps heal us. He wants to go on the trip, and I found this great yoga guy here that helps me. Oh my gosh. And I found out this person in my crew, who knew? He's a great massage therapist. Whoa, and whoa, what happened? And then people drive by on their ship and they're like, whoa, what in the world what is that? And you're in peak health, and they're like, whatever. And they think, how did this happen? And they think you're like, what in the world universe did they come from? Well, you're no longer living in their universe, yet you're on the same ocean. And it's just a little there. And we focus on our bodies. When I came across teachings like this, everything changed. Everything. Our thoughts are based on energy. Our motivations are based on energy. Our decisions are based on energy, particularly habitual ones. Our direction is forward momentum in whatever direction it is. Habits is forward momentum, all of which are energy. I think last 2 years I've pretty much discussed this topic. And if I bring in concepts you're not familiar with because you're newer, that is fine. Do not be overwhelmed because I point to different things from years ago. Remember when I discussed this? This helps people who've been around for a while or who have gone back and listened to now over 100. Wow. I think I saw 100 and I think I'm at 104 and 105 recordings. Great database, which I had always hoped I could be able to build. So it's out there. Don't be overwhelmed by that. Pick up where I am and learn that. And as you have time and curiosity, you look at the titles of the previous ones or the descriptions. I'm working on getting descriptions for everything. So there's still from February of last year. I'm caught up, if you looked online, from February of last year to now, all caught up. That was something. And then I have from September, I think July last summer, not this summer, but the summer before, to February of this year that I still have to put in descriptions. But you go look and see what interests you. I've had teachers who have had decades of teachings when I have joined. I'm like, wow, so much there that I can learn. And you just take pieces of what interests you and you focus at the beginning where they are. And then you add to it. And then you end up reading everything, even if it doesn't interest you, because it's knowledge. And then in 2-3 years, it might just be what you need. The study of metaphysics is incredible. I love it. I can't get enough. But you learn. So don't think, oh my God, I'm behind. This is it. No. Actually, we're starting a whole new cycle on working with our body. So this is perfect. Nobody who's listening knows any of these teachings unless they've learned it somewhere else or in different ways. So this is in a way a refresh, fresh start. But it's everything I teach is built on each other. It stacks. That's why I encourage people to try to listen either on Sunday or catch up during the week, a little here, a little there, or on the drive to work, as opposed to listening to music or on your phone talking about whatever. If you take that time to listen a little here and a little there, and then you have that, because that way it stacks. It's nothing is in isolation. Everything works together that I've taught. Just like in our body, we're working to make it work together. Until we find that balance, it's not working together. We're not even aware or think too much of our body until we get sick. Or until, I don't know, example comes to mind, our child is running down the playground and headed for the street, and you're screaming for him or her to stop, it not stopping, and you run like a crazy person to catch your child. You catch your child, and then you realize you're completely winded, huffing and puffing, and you realize you barely were fast enough, and then you realize, whoa, what happened? I used to be on the track team in high school. And then you realize, oh, I've let it all go. That's not good. You think, oh, I had uncles who had heart attacks, cardiovascular problems in my family. Oh, I should be careful. So you learn, and you realize nothing's in isolation. That when I started learning teachings on the body, my meditation took off like a rocket ship. When I started learning mantras a couple years afterwards, I'd already known some basic ones. But really, because I had worked on my body, I could feel the energy, and everybody looked like I was on crack when I described my experience. Because my energy, my nervous system, the psychosomatic, the implicit psychic energy that goes through channels in the body, yes, that's real, and in the brain, were open to move. So when we say the names of God, there's less resistance. You feel it. You could just say a name of God once, and it used to be what used to take you 20, 30 minutes to feel. You say it 3 times. First time to kind of get in, kind of, it kind of goes through. Second time it goes deep. Third time, your eyes are in the back of your head and you're fully in a whole different zone because your body is purring along. You've reclaimed that. The fragmentation is able to, the fragmented pieces are able to come back together within you. The nerves are in our bodies, the sephirotes are within us, the cathedrals within, the chakras and kundalini, the central column, everything I've discussed is within us. The seat of the Shekhinah is within us as well as the world, but the Shekhinah gives us life. The cathedral is within. Our body is a temple that's here in our physical body. Everybody just touch their chest and their legs and their arms, please. We have a body. When we look through our eyes and we're all in our minds, we really kind of forget our car, but everything depends on it. So bringing balance to here, to that, everything else lines up on top because it's the foundation on which everything that we are here on this planet is built upon. Nobody Our consciousness lives, the Shekhinah leaves, the cathedral dies, we decompose. Our body is not internal. What inhabits, what's inside our body is eternal. Yes? And it's not building ego. Look how great am I. Oh, I lost 4 pounds. Wow, applaud me. No. That's poison. We're not here to inflate ourselves. We're here to widen our perspective beyond that limited sense of that. Because we're much greater than that. Much greater. That's just making ourselves actually really small. We're reaching out to the great I am, which is God. We connect to that, and our life becomes greater. We actually have greater meaning. But along the path, sometimes it's good to have encouragement when you have an achievement. So I thought about it a little bit. You know, not everybody has a partner, not everybody has a support group. I can't see comments, sadly, on my thing. I've been told there's a lot of people watching. I think you could see each other's comments. I don't know. But if you have something you're working on, weight loss or whatever, and you have an achievement, put that in the comment. Not a fluff, oh my God, look how great I am. I lost 4 pounds. That's not the good motivation. But to say, I've hit a milestone. I'm proud. Wow, I hit 4 pounds. You know, boom. And it's almost like sometimes it's good to be seen. Further down the path, you say these things, not for yourself. You actually keep it to yourself, but you say it to encourage others. That's the motivation of why I told it to you as a teaching tool to motivate others. And so that's a motivation. You put it in. I was able to do it. I went to this. I got a weight thing to do that. Or, you know what? I have a larger body type. That's just how I am. It's genetic. I'm okay with that. But I'm making it as healthy as I can be. On the flip side of that, it's not balanced to have what's now called an Ozempic body, where you're literally a walking skeleton. The cult of thin. Well, when I grew up, you used to call it anorexic. I guess now you can do it with a medicine. But there's a balance. We are looking for the middle, not one way, not the other. A Ferrari is not going to be a Toyota, which is not going to be a truck, which is not going to be motorhome. Motorhome shouldn't envy a Porsche, that shouldn't envy a Toyota, that shouldn't envy a motorcycle. We are all different. That's just a waste of, that just creates depression. It's not realistic. We can't all be the stunning supermodel. You know, if you knew their lives, then it's not an easy life necessarily. and they're dependent on their looks, and then looks fade. Age, we all get older. It's not always. You look on the outside and you're like, whoa, and then, but what's wrong with a motorhome? What's wrong with a Toyota? What's wrong with a truck? What's wrong with a motorcycle? Be the best of what you are. Be that best motorhome. Not the expensive one necessarily, but if you are, be the best of that. You could be the homey one from 30 years ago. Be the best of that. You could only be the best of what you are. Being something you're not and cannot achieve. What is that exactly? I'm trying to think. Give me a moment. And there's no judgment here at all. When we go into the winter practice, we just see it for what it is. Where are we? Not to judge. Like for me, lazy for not doing more cardio. No, there's a whole host of reasons as to why it happened. But even if it's not, who cares? Why? Cares? Important to see why, so you could change the reasons as to why it's occurred, because that's some of the blocks that keep it from happening now. But what's important is what you do today, which creates a pattern for tomorrow, which creates results that are different from today's because you've changed things. That's why it's important. It's like you're an accountant. Accountants are, well, they just look at numbers. Numbers speak. They don't necessarily judge the numbers because it's math. You just see what it is. Judging it's not helpful. You see what they are, and it's a cold analysis. And then you see that and you're like, okay, how do I get them to where I would like them to be? What are the steps? And why did we get there? And let's fix that. Analytical. Judging oneself or wishing to be something one cannot be. I will never have all-American football looks or fraternity looks or whatever is the desirable look here in 1,000,001 years. But wishing that, wishing to be the motorcycle when you're the Ferrari, and yes, that does happen. Literally, you see the most stunning creature in perfect shape, and they're like, I wish I was that. And you look and you're like, well, you have the most beautiful brown hair with blue eyes I've ever seen. And they're looking at somebody who's Greek with black hair and all hairy. And you're just like, and you would love to be the brown hair with blue eyes, but yet they're not there. It happens to everyone. Everybody's doing it. I had a very attractive friend once. 6'3", beautiful. Went to bars with him. Everybody turned and looked at him. I was just ignored. It wasn't even there. I was like the wallpaper. And he turns to me, and I was happy to be with him. I'm just like, wow, I have a friend who's like that, and very sweet, very nice. Really appreciated me. Why? Because I wasn't there because of, and wasn't his friend just because he was attractive. I was there because I genuinely cared about him. Genuinely liked laughing with him, liked the trips we went on together. So we went in, And he turned to me and he said, I hate being this attractive. And I'm just like thinking to myself, I would just have loved to have been born like you. He goes, because everybody looks at me and nobody cares about me. They just look at my body and they have it overnight, sex or whatever. And next morning I never hear from them. And nobody wants to be in a relationship because they're not speaking to me for the right reasons. And one reason he liked my friendship so much, because I was someone he can confide in. And we don't appreciate who we are with because they're not that. But we don't see the qualities that they bring, even though it might not be all we look for. So self-esteem is essential. And part of it is realizing I'm okay with how God made me. It's not easy to do. It's taken me decades, But it probably won't take most people decades. My parents really did a number on me. So, and you make yourself the best version of you can be. And honestly, what we're really responsible for, where the karma is at, where the mitzvot is at, where the mitzvah is at, is how you treat others and your actions, your intentions. It doesn't always come out the way we would like, but what's important is the intention behind one's actions. And that has nothing to do with anything other than ourselves. So we work on making us the best part of ourselves is the most important thing. And we honor ourselves and God by making ourselves a car the healthiest vehicle we can make it, and not focus on other things. We find pride in moisturizer. We find pride in cardio, putting on a little makeup, having our hair cut properly, being clean shaven, which I need to work on myself. You put it together, it's a practice because it's energy of conscious intent manifesting into alignment, which moves the kundalini up your spine, which aligns the sephirots, which causes the Shekhinah to really anchor in you and flood your system, at which point you walk in alignments and you're the rider on the horse. Ah, boy, did I just link all that together. Wow, shalom. Do you see it's a path which blesses us on so many different levels? But starting with the body is so important. Starting with how we perceive ourselves actually gets easier as we find those disturbing energies of judgment kind of get ironed out and removed because they're toxic through moving the blood through the system. A lot of our thoughts and things and depression is because simply our bodies have not become aligned through exercise. I have discovered that cardio exercise really is like magic. You're calmer. The thoughts are disturbed. They're disturbed thoughts. They're thoughts not disturbed and like this person's disturbed. That's not what I mean. They're thoughts that are make us upset. It's not balanced thinking. If the thoughts, it's based on energy that's trapped, that knives turned inwards. When we find calibration and evenness, the knives no longer are turned inwards, which calm our minds. And these thoughts and judgments that we can't lose weight, or we're not that, and the depression that comes kind of just magically go away. And it's because the blood system hasn't really flushed through. Like my father used to say, the engine hasn't burned through the yuck it's accumulated. And back then, engines did accumulate yuck. And as we do this, remember this beautiful picture. As I was talking, I was looking for, I'm going to drop a bunch of images. And I'm so thankful to God how this is coming together. What a wonderful things to share at the beginning of our practice time. And I felt the need to teach, and I'm like, I should do practice, but I'm like, I really want to teach because I love sharing. And I found, and this is really on topic. Remember this? The rider on the horse. I mean, he doesn't eat Big Macs, right? You can't see that happening with saturated food, right? No judgment. Sometimes that's what all we could afford, and we make do, and we do our best, and that's fine. That's what it is. Right? But there's also little digestive pills we can take that help digest fats and remove the unhealthy fats so our body doesn't absorb it, which I have found to be very amazing. And they're not that expensive, like digestive enzymes and things. And it helps make sure the unhealthy things don't stay in the body because the body's able to process and let them go so it's not absorbed. The rider and the horse. We're the rider, our body. We're riding the Shekhinah. We're riding our lives. We're riding our actions, our decisions. Different ways, so many different ways. And one of these days I'll just give a whole teaching just on this picture, but I kind of have already in different ways. I think this picture came up last April. I try to cite things backwards, so for people who are new, they kind of have where to start looking. I think this was March. I think this was early April. I discussed the rider and the horse, and the Aleph, of course, is the essence of God above, because God is coming in through the crown chakra, the top of our heads, and the Shekhinah that lives in our heart. But that's we're in union with the manifestation, with the current of divinity. We are not off due north. We are not off to the side. This is alignment, and we work on it. And then it's mastery. We master ourselves. We align ourselves. And it's a path. We become better. We improve little bit by little bit. We learn to ride a horse. When I used to learn to ride a horse, I got thrown off a lot. And then I became one of the best ones there. And then I rode without a saddle. Ran a horse without a saddle. It's a thing. It's American, I know, but you become one with one of the most noble beings on the planet, and you fully trust. I just had to drop it with the tree of life. Because that is, you are the moving tree of life. You are in full bloom. Yes. And so we work on this just little bit by little bit. That's, looking at some pictures that didn't fully make the final cut. One moment here. I might just, yeah, well, it'd be good to explain what I use. Let me find it one moment. I don't know what I really talk about until I start saying it. I have ideas of the general topic and what things I would like to say generally, and then it kind of all comes together. So the images are not prepared. Now, this is not self-promotion for Wednesday, but this image that I chose to use is what I'm getting at. In a way, so for our winter practice, right? There's so many different levels to this picture. I try to have pictures that have teachings. So people could just look at an image and then they get like whole, once you've studied and practiced, you just get whole volumes of things, and it helps remind you, and an image can do that. So it's winter, and this isn't tree and fall foliage. This is a tree, golden tree of life. Notice there's no leaves on the ground, and there's life in the tree in winter because the tree is eternal and can't die and is always growing. And you see the green grass on the bottom? Yes. I hope people can see it properly on their screen. You see the green there? At the base, it's because the tree shelters from the elements around. So there's always spring. Everything in this picture is intentional. So there's spring always on the tree because it's always in bloom. And the path leading to this tree of life, of optimal, of non-fragmentation, of wholeness, is a golden path. It's laid with gold. So that's gold leading up into it. And I might try to, I had problems creating a tree with gold leaves, but one day I'll get there. So in a way, this is what we're doing. And so we can be in the cold. Our tree can be barren or broken, but we learn how to walk our way home, and that's the path. A golden path of divinity, 24 karat gold, and we start a little bit on it. And if you look kind of where the G is in gathering, you see it begins sort of there. This is not meant to line up with what I wrote below. I wrote it below there in that spot because it's symmetrical and the right size and the right placement, because I can't stand asymmetry. So, and it makes the picture really sharp, which I love. But you see it kind of starts there. So you start a little bit, you find a piece of the path, and then it grows bigger and bigger and bigger as you walk it. So it could always be just the smallest little piece of adjustment, just a little here, and then off it goes. You see? a tree of all seasons. And even in the snow, it prospers because there's something greater in it that gives this life, that gives it life. It's less dependent on environments. There's an internal force of its beauty and its alignment, and it feeds in the green the things that are alive. And there are no birds in it, but you could imagine that the birds in this environment, some of them as opposed to going south, may actually have flown into the tree because it would sustain. And so we're building health and wholeness. And so this winter practice, we are going to work on the wholeness of our body, reclaim our body, and be able to embody our body because we're not fully in our bodies. I wasn't. Can you feel every part of your body right now without touching it? Just look at your feet. Can you identify every single toe by how it feels? It's subtle, not easy. Can you feel all of your foot? How about the part between your foot and your knees? The front part? How about the back part? How about the bone in the front? How about the side? Can you feel every finger without looking at them and not moving them? So there's a disconnection. We sow in our heads, but the energy is not meant to be only in our heads. We can base a lot of that energy in our heads in our bodies. And therefore, there's a greater cup to hold it, a greater container that was meant to hold it. And then the flow is meant to go through our bodies and out, not to be held. Our bodies are not meant to be a battery. We are not meant to hold on to things. A battery flows. It should come in and it should come out. What is that? Is that called a capacitor? I don't know. It's not meant to hold a charge. That's what the human body. Yet we're at 120% of what we can hold, and then we get cancers and high blood pressure and heart attacks and strokes. Though there's other causes for these things as well, but a lot of it deals with a tension. And the body's not meant to live that way. And then we age prematurely. We can look much younger than we are when we are able to live in greater wholeness in our minds, our thoughts, our emotions. And we've reclaimed our body and helped it find its equilibrium. Exercise, yoga, meditation, walks on the beach, quiet time, healthy music, healthy TV shows, acupuncture, massage, medicines, antidepressants, if you need them, blood pressure pills, if you need them. You take your medicines, you don't avoid medicine. You also look for healthy things. If you have digestive problems, you take digestive enzymes. If you're older and you have problems being consistent when you go to the bathroom, you take some prunes. You take what you need to help. In the modernity, we have access to so many things, holistic, medicinal, things we can do on our own, therapy. And we work. We work on our bodies, we work on our minds, and then things become easier. A lot of what we face is because things are not our bodies, our car isn't, well, Some of us could be out of oil. Some of us could have oil that's needs to be replaced because it's not filtered. There's toxins in it. Some of us might have a broken spark plug. Some people might have problems with the tire. Too inflated, not inflated. There's a hole in it. Some people have really dirty windshields, or the seat's really broken, or the brakes don't work. It's really no judgment, but we just like a mechanic, we look at it and we like, okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay. All right, how do I go about doing that? And we're not overwhelmed. We'll be like, okay, this is the thing. This might be the main thing, but it's just too much right now. I just can't. But I can do this part. I can work on the wheel, even though the engine, I know this thing's there, but I just can't. So you work on the wheel, and then you work on this, and you work on that, and then suddenly the car's functioning better, and the engine, where it's mainly a lot, is much easier to address because the other problems have removed themselves, and you've grown confident, and you've seen the benefits. And so there's a bravery, but also there's not that great weight. You've removed all things that were contributing to the 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. You've removed two of them. So actually it was 1 + 1 + 3, let's say. That's a better example. Well, you removed the 1 + 1. So the 3, that's like, oh my God, right? The harder one. Well, now the equal sign is just 3, not 5. And the 3 is in the realm of being able to be engaged. The 5 is just overwhelming. Do you see? And then from that health can radiate into our families and into our world, into our decisions, into our manifestation. See? And I have found from my experience, I get the most benefit from cardio. And then you could add the weight on top if you choose to, or add the yoga. I do stretches and cardio. The stretching helps. It's like a congested freeway. You're not stretched, everything tight. It's like things don't flow properly, like rush hour. It's all backed up. You stretch, you open, you're able to, things move because you've elongated your spine, you've stretched out your muscles, so it's less tight. Then your body becomes a freeway of blood, everything, electricity, psychological pathways, and everything that flows better. And therefore you feel better, and it's easier. The cardio is easier. Your thoughts are less stressed because thoughts move better. When you do mantra, the mantra has less energy to fight against because it flows. And then you get what you call, oh my God, aha, oh, this is what he was speaking to. Oh my God, that's the power of that. Oh my God, this is wow. Because you start seeing it, you start experiencing what I show. You're like, oh, this is a little out there, you think, and then suddenly you have a taste of that. You're like, oh my gosh, and you get confidence and faith, and you start being able to feel God more. And you're like, oh my God, this really works. That happens faster because that energy you're putting out in there, that divine energy, isn't being blocked by all the blocks in your body, all the uncalibrated pieces, things that don't flow, are resistance to energy moving. So let's say you have a fully charged battery, which is most of us, and you want to put in something new into the battery. So let's say, I don't know, what's an example? I'm just literally making this up. Um, Well, let's just make it clear. Your battery's full of dark gray. And as you do the work, you'll literally, well, sometimes when you exhale, you will see, as you become clearer through different types of seeing, you will see dark mist exhale out of your body. Yes, it's real. Yes, it happens. And yes, you begin to realize, and then that's a level, and you're like, wow, what's this? And then you start realizing that it's denser energy that's not healthy. And then as you blow, it becomes clearer. And then sometimes, if you do the pranayamas, you do a visualization. And after a while, you will see, and then you actually see it blow out white. So let me use that as an example. Your battery, let's say, some of us, dark gray, and sometimes I've seen black come out. That's always a little interesting. And you have white you're putting in. So let's say white's trying to get into your battery, but it's black, white, or dark gray, or medium gray, right? And so it's hard for it to fully come in because that energy is a positive pressure. So it's totally filled. So how do you get in when it's at 100%? There's no room. It actually pushes it out so you can't get it in. Do you see? But as you do things to empty your battery, there's room, there's space, it's less dense. So when you want to put in white, the name of God, gold, right? There's room. So it actually absorbs it. Because the battery naturally at its core has gold, white in it. So at its base, there is that inner cathedral within the body. So it's natural to it. So it's not foreign to the body. It's just so much in there, it can't enter. So when you do a mantra, a name of God, the battery, the core of your body wants it. It's literally like somebody who's like dying of thirst in the desert, right? But there's so much gunk that the mantra has to fight against it to get in. But if you do things to the battery, exercise and proper balance, do medicine and improve your food as best you can, and supplements and all that good stuff I discussed since the last 3 years now, it clears. So when you do the mantra, it goes in very easily. And as it connects with the core within you, because it can radiate with the true essence within, it clears everything else left very, 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 very fast, because there's less things for it to work through. You've already done a lot through yoga and stretching and cardio, that the whatever is in batteries that cause it to move, let's just say there's little freeways in there. That's not how they're built, but let's just say there's columns in there in your battery for things to move, and they're all broken, gone, twisted. These are the energy channels in the body, which one of these days I will discuss. Yes, they're real. And so they're all kind of gunked up. It clears that. It's somewhat more clear. And therefore, when you put in the positive things, Torah readings and services and things, it moves forward. And then you start having a different experience, because all these things that are meant to give you a different reality and different experiences are just so cluttered. They don't work. They've turned off. They can't absorb it. So you feel numb. A lot of people on this planet feel really numb. Nothing affects them because it's all cluttered. And there's all these little streams and things that should flow. They don't necessarily have to be straight. They are curves, but they're not meant to be jagged. They're not meant to have 15 little crooks in it. It's meant to be like a freeway. You know, the freeways, you turn to the right. It's nice and gradual. It's not a hairpin turn. It's not meant to be a mountain road. But it can become that. Correct? Yeah? So, but there's also a main part of the battery that goes down through the middle, and that's the spine. And everything goes into the spine. and also flows through that. So it can go up, but mainly through the spine. And so that gets skunked, and it relies on everything to the side for it because it's all part of one battery. But yet things to the side are not quite there, like the bottom right or something, and that energy just stays there because its little rivers are really gunked, and therefore it pools. If it gets dense or it's really off, that can cause illnesses in that area, possibly. If you go to Eastern science or stuff, energy that's out of calibration in different organs can lead to diseases. I don't know. I can't take it that far. They swear by it. But it kind of, whether you take it all there or not, whatever, but pooling energy that doesn't flow is kind of toxic. Whether what the ramification is, it's just putting a label on it. But generally, I think everybody would agree to the concept of that. And so it repairs, so it flows out. Hence why pranayamas, doing meditation, breathing with intensity, which we'll get back into this year, puts pressure in those areas and helps push it out. And one reason you start slowly is because there's so much in your body that's gunky, the pressure will blow back. You kind of have to go slowly as it works. And as the battery clears, you could put more pressure in, and then it'll get into these areas that are denser and also more solid off to the sides. And so there's all these great modalities that help. And so when you say a mantra, it clears, it straightens, it moves up. It's the battery. If it's seated down, it's from the bottom, the negative to the positive. Let's just say it comes in from the bottom and goes up. Okay. It also comes in from the left arm to the right arm, left leg to the right leg. But the main one is from called the perineum, between the legs. The base of your body, the base of the spine, all the way to the top of your crown of your head, which is called the crown chakra, and above. Okay? And that's how it flows. And it's mainly up the spine, but everything around. You have nerves in your hands and your fingertips. You kind of see how it all works. And as you clear, when the mantra comes in, it has less to work through because the freeway is clear. And that's how, with time, you say 1 or 2 or 3, you have the same effect as 30 or 40 minutes because it's able to just move through really fast. Or if you're not well, but you've done a lot of work for years and you're not normally able to keep your alignment because you're not well, if you ever need to, in 0.2 seconds, you could kind of flip it all on like a switch because the basic cleansing had happened, but there's something wrong with the battery as a whole. But the cleansing might get a little clogged or off, but it's not stuck because you've gotten to a point that fundamental locking in can't happen anymore. So by your intent and your ability, you flip the switch and then you're at 100%. Though, sometimes if you're really not well, you could, for 2-3 days, feel worse because you don't have that capacity to emanate that as much. So, a big teaching today. I did not intend to speak this much. I wanted it short, and I didn't give a break. I apologize. But I think conceptually, this was really important. And I think it gives an understanding that we are the importance of the battery, our bodies, the importance of learning how it works, the importance of fine-tuning, repairing, and what I would like to recommend to everyone: exercise. It is, from my experience, from decades, it's cardio. If you can't walk that much, you do what you can. My grandfather, age of 98, if somebody helping him still walked to the market to grab his little whatever he needed and walked home every single day, even if he had a cane. Now be careful, don't fall if that's, he had somebody to help him. And then one day he decided not to take that person and he fell and he broke his hip and died 6 months later. So you really need to be careful and not be, a little arrogant and be like, I'm going to do it like I'm 22 and not be able to maintain yourself. But the point is he always exercised. That walk was essential. Last time I saw him, he insisted to take a bus to the Louvre to show me art. And he insisted to stand up in the bus and give a woman his seat. Please don't do that if you're 94 with your grandchild next to you. I was in holy terror and ready to catch him at a moment's notice because a bus in Paris is not a smooth ride. But let me tell you, he held his balance and he didn't need me having minor heart attacks next to him, worried about him falling over, because he did actually quite well. But the point is, he could have paid for a cab, but he was active. If you're younger, a little cardio, 8-10 minutes, you're winded. Great, you did it. Don't think about 17. Don't look at the marathon person next to you at an hour and a half, just going full speed. No, you look at you. I did that today. I went, I tried. You rest, you're sore, you take a little Advil, take a hot shower, you stretch. 2-3 days later, when you're no longer like, oh my God, I can't walk, you do it again. 12 minutes or 8 or 10 minutes again. You didn't change. That's fine. But with time, you will go faster. You will be less sore. You will not have your heart racing at 8 minutes or even 25 or even 30 because your body has recalibrated. And you will be able to handle what you see when you do your diagnostic because your emotions, your mind will be calmer. The mantras will be easier because all that movement literally flushes the nervous system, flushes the channels, flushes the blood, removes the toxins. Always shower after you exercise, please. Quickly. Do not allow the body to reabsorb. You can go home, but don't allow it to all get dry in you. You want that to be rinsed off with soap. And that clears. And then suddenly the road opens. Cardio is literally the magic in it. And so that's my recommendation. We're entering this period. Look, it could be swimming, it could be tennis, it could be running. I do elliptical. It could be walking, fast walk at the gym or in your city or whatever. But it's a movement at a certain speed where you feel you're getting in that exercise to the extent you can. Some people, they're stuck in bed. Well, it's not for you, and that's okay. That's where you're at, and you do the best where you are. Or if it's possible, you try to walk to the living room, to the kitchen. Be a little less dependent on the other people, but be supervised. And then maybe for some people, they realize, oh, this is a beginning. And then next thing they know, with someone, of course, please don't hurt yourself. Suddenly, in the course of a couple months, you might be able to go to the store. And that little step to the kitchen started something. Or for others, that's not possible and it won't start something. But that's okay. You pray, you connect to God, and that's your practice. There are people who are paralyzed. You work where you are. You find beauty where you are, and you see what's possible, and you don't judge or feel bad or wish or anything for what is not possible for you. That puts energy, or what you can't be, or what you're not, because that pools energy and makes energy in unavailable. It's like we have 100%. So if we have all that energy of wishing, resentment, because we're not something, feeling bad because we're not something, or look like someone, or all of that, let's say that's 30%. That energy is not available for us to do anything forward or helpful. So we only have 70. Worse than that, it's toxic energy. So it's like radioactive. So that 70 isn't just free and loose. It's actually being sucked into the 30%, because that's what I call a poison. And it weakens you. So the 70 really becomes like 40. This is my experience. So what are you left at the end of the day? 30%. Do you see? So it's very important to try to let that go. Cardio helps, therapy helps. These are all symptoms of the modern condition. That's why I don't try to be negative by focusing on this, but we all kind of have that to a certain extent. So that's why I focus on that, because part of what we're doing is healing that. So that 40%, 30% dwindles and goes away. And even if it's sort of there because we've gotten into a better frame of mind, that 70%, that 40% left, or 30%, I'm losing whatever was left, 70%, right, doesn't go into the 30%, because we found solidity in that. And so we've reclaimed 30 or 40% of what's possible. And when we've done that, then that 30% no longer is the boogeyman in the room, and we're able to turn directly at it and resolve that. But at the beginning, it feels overwhelming, because not only is it 30%, but it's kind of sucked in 40% of the 70 that's remaining. So we're left with 30. So it's 30 trying to address 70. That's an uphill climb. So you work where you can, so that 30% works on that 10% that's easiest. Now it's 40%. Then it works on the next possibility. Now you've reclaimed 50%. Things get lighter, they're easier, things flow. So it's less of an uphill climb, because you've kind of repaired the trail of your body, how it works, how it flows. And so even though there's 50% left, it's really energetically 20% less. Because even though you didn't address directly that 30% of toxic, because you've done your work, the work works on the full 100%, because you've cleared things in there. Even though some of the issues remain, what's underneath is looser. Because what we do to one part of our body affects the whole. You see? So doing the cardio affects everything. Even though we say heart, lungs, this, that, it affects everything in our body. And it's a systemic. It affects everything, which is why it's the best place to start. And we'll work on meditation practices. We'll work on body meditation practice, which is amazing. And we'll work on the mantras and things, and the breathing exercises. And we're going to heal the fragments that we have. Fragments aren't, let me just give a higher level teaching about fragments. They're not good and they're not bad. Don't characterize them, because that characterization only exists in your mind. Technically, they actually really, should I even go there? They don't exist, but yet they do, but yet they don't. And when you get to a certain level, when you pop in and you flip the switch, you literally are able to drop and let them go, even though they might be there. But that doesn't mean you're pushing them away, is that you're able to kind of transcend that. Because there's a lot more available in your body than merely the physical. But that's not accessible yet. So you have to start where you are in the path. And the simplest thing, not always the easiest to do it, you pull things, joints hurt. For me, Advil is my sacred friend that helps me like beyond. Like I go through bottles, like whatever. But at some point, you don't need it anymore. Don't push too hard too fast. You'll throw a joint. You'll tear a tendon. The worst ones to tear, they take a long time to repair. So when it feels tight, it feels like you don't push. You'll be like, I clocked this. I did it. I didn't go easy, but I didn't push it to the point of injury. Oh, this feels really tight, a little tearing. Oh, you stop right there. It's not worth it. Because if you stop before it tears, you're back at it in 2-3 days. You tear it, you're out for 2-3 weeks, and then you're kind of starting at the beginning. So I don't want to belabor a point, but I rarely recommend things. And we're entering this practice period. And so I give myself permission to give a little prescription from HP Shalom. I prescribe exercise. And I hope it works. And if you have no one to share, and it is important when you do something like this, put it in the comments. It encourages people. Or say where you struggle. And I don't know if they're available to you. If I could see them, I would comment. I can't. So if you see where's HP Shalom in the comments, it's because I can't. But if you can see it, and even if you don't see anyone, put it in there. It's important to have positive reinforcement to say, I achieved this. I managed to lose 4 pounds. I managed to lose 8 pounds. From a human psychological point of view, it helps us. Share with your mother, I lost 4 pounds. Or I'm able to stretch more. Or you know what? I walked to the kitchen. As human beings, it's important to be seen. We are not alone. I might not be able to see you. I might not know your name. I might not know where you live. I don't know anything about you. But I like to think that I see you and that I care. I care. There's a lot of people who care. And I hope people who listen to me care about the other people who are on the path too. Even though we might not know each other. People want people to do well, be happy, and to live beautiful lives, even if they're strangers. There is love for you. There is care for you. And I know for a fact that God does love you. So, my dear friends, thank you for joining me today. I hope this has been of help. And I look forward to being with you all next Sunday. And if you feel so called, join me on Wednesday where we'll do some practice together. We'll start some of the body meditation then, and we'll also do it on Sunday. You can't meet Wednesday, that's fine. It's intended to be a supplement, not something that, people should feel Oh my God, there's something else. It's just an offering. Though with practices, just like exercise and everything else, you kind of have to do it a couple times a week. But do it when you're free and you have time, and, try to listen in if you can. Even though you can't do the practice, listen in the car. I can't always repeat everything, and I say things sometimes in a different way. So please don't do the practices while you're driving, but you could listen to the little tips or how I go about it for that time, because that's instruction and knowledge. So when you're doing on your own, you'll remember it and you'll try them because you've heard them explained. We can't always do the practice as we're hearing them. I used to hear many different practices, and I wasn't doing it necessarily at the same time because I was multitasking sometimes. But I listened, and I learned the little tips, or I wrote them down, or I saved it to do the practice later. But the knowledge was in my brain. And then I was able to apply it when I needed it. When I felt that block that teacher was talking about 6 months before, and I said, "Oh, I'm having that. What did he say?" He said, "Do this." And then I would try it. So, anyway, thank you for joining me. I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful week. And may we all bloom this winter. May you bloom during your summer. May we always be in bloom. May it be so. Shalom and amen. And till next time. Bye-bye.